Kyle Larson wins his third Chili Bowl, but it didn't come without some controversy. FloRacing once again ran into technical issues during a big event, and we'll talk some Supercross because where's Haiden Deegan? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. First day of the TikTok ban. I'll be honest, I probably opened the app 6, 7, 8 times this morning on Sunday trying to get it to work, and it doesn't work. We'll see if it comes back on Monday, but either way, if you follow me on TikTok and you made your way over to YouTube, thank you for making it over here. I'll continue to upload shorts to YouTube as well. Didn't realize that shorts went from 60 seconds up to 3 minutes now, which actually works out really well for me, so I don't have to try to condense my videos that I typically post on TikTok, which are around 90 seconds down to 60 seconds at that. So that's great news for there. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'll be posting on Reels over there at Break Hard Blog as well. But let's get into what actually happened on Saturday night. One of the longest racing days of the year outside of a 24-hour race. That would be the Chili Bowl, starting with the O, I think is what we had in the morning on Saturday, all the way up through the A main on Saturday night. Didn't end at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is a major win there. Ended, just before midnight? 11:30, somewhere in that range. I don't remember the exact time, but Kyle Larson picked up his third Golden Driller, his third win in the Chili Bowl, but it didn't come without some controversy. Of course, if you remember back on Monday, remember back that far, in the first night of the preliminary qualifiers, Larson won that race to lock himself in to the feature on Saturday. Then for the pill draw for the pole shootout, Larson ends up drawing pill number 1, which means that he is the last car to go out. He is guaranteed to start no worse than second place in the feature. Of course, everything seems to be coming up Larson. You got the tinfoil hats being put on. Everybody is like, forget about aliens. We're going to talk about how Kyle Larson has continued to get so lucky through this. Larson ends up winning the pole because Deegan Pursley, who was making a run through the pole shuffle, runs out of fuel racing for that second spot. So then all Larson has to do, go out there, turn a hot lap, beat one other car, and he's on the pole. That's what happens. We get into the feature on Saturday night. Larson goes out there and just like he did in the last 2 Knoxville Nationals, leads every single lap. When it comes to a big time race on dirt and Kyle Larson starting on pole, you can pretty much just go ahead and kiss him goodbye because he is going to go out there and dominate this race. That's exactly what he did on Saturday night. Led all 40 laps. But like I said, didn't come without a little bit of controversy. On lap 23, as he's preparing to put Brenham Couch a lap down, he spins out, and Larson ramps up and over him like he's Gravedigger doing a Monster Jam show. Thankfully for Larson, didn't hurt his car, so that is actually a major win for him. Didn't slam down hard enough to really damage the car, but like you're certainly wondering if you've bent something up when you take a car off the ground and put it and slam it back down. For him, didn't affect him. Go on a little bit later in the race, Larson is being pursued by Deegan Pursley, who has just one of the crazier career stories. Went from nearly being a quadriplegic to now being, contending to win the Chili Bowl once again. Racing Kyle Larson, putting pressure on him. Larson coming off of turn 4 onto the front stretch, slams the wall, and he goes up onto the wall. Rear tire is on top of the wall. He looks like he's grinding it like a crooked grind from Tony Hawk. Comes back down off the wall. Pursley's passing him on the outside, and as that's happening, a caution comes out, and you're thinking the caution came out because Larson rode the wall, right? Like he was on top of the wall. They probably threw it thinking that, NASCAR style, hey, this is an accident that just happened right here, and he drove away from it. You can see from the photo and the video, like that's a wreck. That's just a wreck. That's how he drove away from it. I'm not really sure, but no. The race director said that the caution came out because the banner that was on the front stretch wall had fallen off, which it did. Now, Larson does not get sent to the back for that. He gets to retain his lead position. Restart the race. Pursley throws a slider on him. Larson, gets back in front, and that's the end of it. Larson goes wire to wire, wins the race, and wins his third Golden Driller. And it had some people questioning, whether or not he should be up there. Logan Seavey said he doesn't have a problem with it. Others said, maybe they should have put him to the back because we've seen this happen before. Regardless, Kyle Larson is now a 3-time Chili Bowl winner. Takes Paul Silva to victory lane to the top step of the podium there. Jeff Gordon, his team owner, partial team owner, was there to congratulate him on the podium as well. His kids were throwing confetti in his face. It was Kyle Larson's night, and I'm slightly surprised that he was as good as he was in that feature. Just because on Monday night he was fine. He stole that win on Monday night. That was a late race pass for the win. We saw in the Race of Champions that night, Christopher Bell went out there and just absolutely waxed the field, spanked their butts. And on Saturday night, of course, Bell had to race in through the B, so he was starting at a disadvantage, and he could just never get up there to where Larson was. Podium ends up being Kyle Larson winning, Dason Persley in second, and Shane Golobic in third. Now the big question around it, and Matt Weaver had a great article up on Sportsnaut about this, is whether or not this race should go back to 55 laps like it has been since 2013, I believe. They went down to 40 laps this year because one of the biggest concerns with this race is when it went 55, this track started to get really rubbered in. Now, they went above and beyond teching these cars this week at Chili Bowl, and they did a lot of chemical testing on the tires, and that seems to have really helped this track not rubber in. So you can kind of connect the dots there and see what was happening. These tires, when they were maybe possibly potentially chemically altered, were putting down rubber onto the track. Now, because that's not happening, rubber's not going into the track, and the track actually stayed in really, really good condition over those 40 laps, and now some people want it to go back to 55. So we'll see how that plays out for next year. But for now, Kyle Larson, once again, a Chili Bowl winner. He heads off now to Daytona, where he's looking to complete his NASCAR Crown Jewel collection. He's already won all the other ones. Now he needs to win the Daytona 500, where he, of course, has not had a ton of luck in that race. 2017 came super close, though, ran out of gas. Kurt Busch ends up winning. We'll see what he can do next month in February when the Cup Series heads into their biggest race of the year. All right. We got to talk about FloRacing. I have been a gigantic advocate for FloRacing. I pay my subscription every year, the $170, whatever it is, and I really enjoy the content that they put out. They cover a ton of racing series. You get the full high limit series. You get Lucas Oil late models. You get the Cars Tour. You get weekly racing across a bunch of NASCAR tracks. You get Chili Bowl. You get Snowball Derby. And you get big time late model races like the South Carolina 400. The problem is, over the last 4 months, Flo has been absolute cheeks. It's been terrible. It has not been good. Remember back to the South Carolina 400 in November. The feed was so bad. It was like trying to watch a race through a kaleidoscope. You couldn't see a damn thing, all because Dale Jr. was there running. If you know Dale Jr. is going to be there running, you should probably make sure that you have the infrastructure that can handle the influx of viewers that are going to be on your network. They didn't do it, and it was absolutely atrocious. All right. We go to Snowball Derby. Snowball Derby's fine. Snowball Derby went off without a hitch. Really enjoyed watching all of that. Then we head down to Tulsa Shootout. Tulsa Shootout, it was okay. Doesn't get the same level of traffic. Definitely does not. Then we go to Chili Bowl. Everything's going fine. Monday through Friday, perfectly fine. Saturday from the morning all the way up until about the C's. C mains, when we were about to start that. When that happened, complete garbage, complete outage. Whole website went down, whole app went down, couldn't even log in, logged me out of it even. Flo realized that happens, goes over and starts live streaming on YouTube. Why? Because YouTube has the infrastructure to handle this. They understand that people are watching. And when you looked at how many people were watching live on YouTube, it was about 60,000 people was kind of where the average was at. It went up to about 70-ish, a little under 70, and dipped all the way down to 40 at one point. It can handle it with ease. Flo not being able to handle 60,000 people, potentially, even more, is disheartening, especially when just a couple weeks ago, Flo talked about how the high limit races averaged 100,000 viewers. Well, if they're able to average 100,000 viewers, how can you not manage to show Chili Bowl, which is probably in that same ballpark, definitely going to be a little bit more, but man, is it wildly frustrating to pay this money to then have this happen. And now I saw some people being like, well, you're not always guaranteed 100% uptime with networks like this. Yeah, you're right. You're not always guaranteed. You're not guaranteed anything. But when it keeps happening, people are allowed to be annoyed, which is what I was. Yeah, I got to watch it on YouTube, which is phenomenal. I'm glad that it was also accessible to people that don't pay for Flo, because maybe they'll want to, tune in and watch these races. Do they want to pay for Flo? I don't know if you do, because you get these infrastructure problems where you have to go over and watch it over here. Yeah, I'm annoyed that I pay money every single year to watch these big events, and then sometimes they get kicked over where people can watch them for free, or I can't watch them at all because it's so pixelated. That part of it is incredibly frustrating to me. Like I said, I love this service. I continue to pay for it, and maybe it's like Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe it's like battered, the battered partner syndrome, where you just convince yourself that it's going to get better and it just never does at this point. What I really hope for out of it is that they do use this as a learning example. Now, I did see people say that the same thing happens on FloWrestling, which I didn't even know was a thing. So it's disheartening to see that. But hey, maybe it will change going forward. I can only hope that it does. All right, let's talk a little bit Supercross on here. Something we don't typically talk about, but I consume every single race of it, so we might as well talk about it now. It's feeling like 2023 because Eli Tomac is sitting atop the point standings in the 450 class after winning on Saturday night in San Diego, his third win in San Diego. It looked like vintage Eli Tomac. The guy is so incredibly fit. It wasn't with ease, but when he got up to third, you knew that he was just going to finally, probably break through there. And he's got Jet Lawrence chasing him down, and Jet could just never get around him, which is pretty phenomenal by Eli Tomac to be substantially older than Jet by not quite 15 years, but over a decade, and Jet not being able to chase him down. That talks about the level of fitness and endurance that Eli Tomac has and, is still capable to be competing at such a high level. Jet obviously didn't have a very good Anaheim 1, had a much better San Diego, doesn't get up there. Chase Sexton, who won Anaheim 1, he fell at the very start of the race, wheel kind of just got stuck in a rut and he kind of tipped over and, kind of binded up and went down. Unfortunate for him because it also got his teammate Aaron Plessinger involved in it as well, and the two of them were at the back. But he did rebound for a top 10 finish, so hats off to him. 450 race, though, really good top to bottom. Ken Roczen is, I think, a guy that's just going to hang around probably in that third to fourth, fifth place range the entire year and just point these guys to death and somehow still be a factor, when we get halfway through this season, but isn't going to be a contender for the championship. I am super pumped at how well he's riding, though. Tomac, if he continues at this pace, he is going to be a championship threat for sure. Jet, of course, defending champion, we expect him to be there. And Sexton, if he doesn't have that fall, is probably a podium finisher on Saturday night. So we're shaping up right now, as everybody's healthy, to have a really good championship battle. But as we all know, championship doesn't start until after Daytona, so we'll see how it plays out going into there. Into the 250 class. So before I get into the Haiden Deegan, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world's Haiden Deegan at? We're going to talk about the winner, Julian Beaumer, because this kid last year, we saw he had a lot of speed, but he just didn't have the consistency and probably the endurance to make it, happen to the finish there. The kid is the real deal so far. He wins on Saturday night in San Diego, picks up his first 250 West career win. Looking super stout. He is your points leader as it currently stands. Obviously, we're 2 races into the season, but the fact that he has shown as much speed as he has is really encouraging for that KTM team, for himself, and probably has to have Haiden Deegan looking over his shoulder just a little bit. And talking about Haiden Deegan here, remember back to Anaheim 1, had an incident there, doesn't end up getting the finish that he wants, isn't in contention for the win the entire main event. On Saturday night in San Diego, gets an okay start. He has the best starting position. He is right there next to the box. He is in the middle. He's not out there to the side to get stuffed into, a tough block or anything like that. And then just comes out of the first corner in probably about 7th or 8th place and just slowly just doesn't, get out of it. It's kind of perplexing for as much as this kid talks about being fast, being the best out there. All of his fans talk about it. His starts at times are just not the best. Does he have good racecraft? Yeah, when he doesn't make mistakes, he is definitely fast through the corners. There's no doubt about that. But with about 11 minutes to go in that 250 main, he is sitting there 7-ish seconds back of the lead. And then at the end of the race, he is about 5.7, 5.8 seconds back of the lead. So over that 11 minutes, he really only gained 1 second on the leader, who was able to maintain that lead. So it's not that Haiden Deegan is really as lights out as he thinks he is. He talks a big game. He's constantly telling us how he's going to go out there and dominate 250 West, how he's not really even worried about these guys, how he's talking about 450 guys. He's also saying that riders are ducking out of 250 West to go to the East Coast so they don't have to race against him, which is a shot at Austin Forkner. And I'll be honest, where's he been? All we hear about is how quick this kid is. He's going to be the contender to Jet Lawrence. I honestly don't see it on the Supercross side of things. On the outdoors, he's really good. He is incredibly good at outdoors. I will give you that every single day of the week. But when it comes to Supercross, I am just not sold on Haiden Deegan being that guy that is going to move up to 450 and take it to the other guys that are currently up there, because he's kind of been absent through these first 2 weeks of the season. Now, of course, it's 2 weeks into the season. He can come out at Anaheim 2 next weekend and absolutely wax the field because he has the skill set to do that. He has to stop making bad mistakes. He has to get better starts, and he should probably stop talking, because part of that too, nobody's responding to him anymore in the press conferences and everything, and he's creating these rivalries to himself. And I think he probably gets himself too hyped up for this, and all these other riders aren't paying attention to it, and they're just going out there and riding their races. So maybe that's something he should probably try to do. Either way, Supercross season is shaping up to be a really good one so far. Tomac on top of the 450 points, Beaumer on top of the 250 points. Excited to see how all of it goes. So let me in the comments what you think about Larson winning Chili Bowl, FloRacing issues, and Supercross so far this season. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok if it comes back on Monday. You can follow me there at Break Hard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, though, at Break Hard Blog.